Hi, I am D-Red Baron, or Corey for this video. This isn't for anyone else but me, actually, future me. So, for future me, this will be helpful, but for anyone else, your mileage may vary. This comes to you like a cassette tape, in 2 parts. Let's get started. Hello future me, so this video is going to just be a quarter evaluation, and will be split into a couple of subsections, starting with, you know our brain is one of those that loves to do nothing. So we push everything until the moment when we need to do a dead sprint to the finish, and 90% of the time we do a good job on it. But you also know we don't do this because we can and everything will be okay in the end. No, this is incredibly stressful and we would want to start sooner. We just don't. No simpler than that. This is why last year we started looking into organizational methods from ebooks of all places. This leads into 2017. This year is going to be dedicated to self-improvement on a larger scale that we couldn't achieve due to starting so late in 2016, even though we did make remarkable progress. Instead of doing resolutions, I've started theming my years. 2017 is what I'm calling my year of more. With this, we are going to find out what we do with our time, take control of that time, redistribute it towards the stuff that needs it, starting personal projects, as well as completion. Let me remind you, this is not about overloading us with more stuff until we fill our time. Instead, it's about completing things we need to and want to do. Just overall increasing our productivity from 0 to at least 1. Since this is the first video on this, some setup will need to be done. In 2016, we created a type of time management system using parts from the Getting Things Done method by David Allen. I'll spare most of the details, but it focuses on the idea of the brain as a bad hard drive, and instead using an external brain. I bought a series of office trays for this. One is called The Heap, where I store all new projects and ideas to be processed. The next set is The Queue, where all these are sorted into different priorities and used to store all active projects until completion. It also revolves around 2 logs. The first is called the quest log. This is where we write and track all projects and steps. No, it's not called that to be cute, it's just the best way to frame it so our brain will work. Also, it's not gamification, we're not getting a cookie for completion. Second is the time log. Just as it says, it tracks our time, but in reality, it's actually a self-improvement loop, which is the main reason we're doing better. And now, a brief rundown. The base is a daily log that is split into 60-minute blocks from 6 AM to 10 PM. And no, there isn't any significance to that time, it's just the amount we could fit on the paper. The back has a mini review that keeps track of all the important stuff we did during that day and possible improvements that could be made for the future, and the number of projects and steps added as well as completed. We do this every single day. Also, this is only a snapshot of the day. It's done on a large scale, so we don't keep track of every minute. From this, we build on to the next steps, which are pretty self-explanatory. A weekly recap, a monthly evaluation, then a larger quarterly review, and then a final yearly review. So count it up, that's 12 monthly evals, 4 quarterly reviews, and a final yearly review, which totals to 17 different times for us to evaluate our improvement. This might sound insane, because yes, I did add paperwork to our daily life, but it ended up having huge benefits. This does deserve a video of its own, but it's still under development, and it's one size fits me, so no promises. Also, it's not as bad as it sounds. While we haven't eliminated stress, it did lift a weight. We have several projects currently ongoing, live streaming on Twitch, and a podcast that I upload on the channel, which is just me talking to myself. Before this, we hardly streamed once a week during any time of day. Now we do it 4 to 6 days a week. The podcast usually ended up being late, sometimes skipping it entirely, and uploading it was just terrible. Now I record it 2 times a month and upload it during the week after. The benefits were quick, and not like a month, I mean within days. All of this stuff that we had bogging our brain down suddenly went away. As for YouTube, well, welcome to the year of more. Now for the important part. Similar to Side A, this will also be split just a little bit more pronounced. So, overall, how did the first quarter go? Our goals were starting personal projects which weren't related to school, 1 video per month on the YouTube channel, and time efficiency. The fact that we're making videos means the first one gets checked automatically. We in fact did create 3 videos, which I will discuss later, and they were all uploaded before the end of the month. Check. As for efficiency, we do get things done by the due date, and we do have a relatively good work ethic, mostly when it comes to other work. We don't have any actual schedule or expectation or even an audience to deliver to. However, the whole point of these projects is productivity, and I'll be honest, the work is sporadic. So we failed this section. Now, let's talk months. Let's start with the first episode of the podcast, re-recorded on the 1st of January. This is only noteworthy because that was a Sunday, and how the system works, everything begins on a Monday regardless of the actual calendar date. For us, this year started on the 2nd, which means we did an episode earlier than we should have. It's just funny. Our first video this year was a vlog talking about content creation and how it's easier to gain access to tools and resources. From this, we learned 2 big things. I hate recording live action, and I have the hustle of a college student. In regards to live action, normally for voiceover, you'd have to deal with just getting a good take. But now, we have to be aware of where our body is placed, especially the eyes. This means a larger margin for error. Oh joy. Also, by hustle, I mean waiting until the end and doing it all in one go. We started this on the 29th for a total of 12 hours and 47 minutes. The number of days worked on was 3. So, we know we can finish a video in a short amount of time if needed, but I'd rather we didn't. Major problems were, we did an hour recording session immediately followed by several editing sessions on the 31st, the day it was due. I find it's always best to give a couple of hours, if not a day in between sessions, because when you come back later, it lets us relax and we tend to find mistakes that we missed earlier. I am happy though, because we did re-record lines for the questions in the video, mainly because we did sound condescending in the first takes. Another thing I'm not happy about though, this video was last minute. Originally, the Season 7 video was being worked on it this month, but school started up and we just stopped working on it at one point. Also, school didn't stop us from working, it just started around the same time, and we just stopped working on it for some reason. Last bit, Twitch streaming. Only thing to report, 62 hours and 28 minutes of stream time. We also made our log sheets longer because we ran out of space for January. P.S. we also track our stream times. The good news, we did release the Season 7 video this month. The bad news, development hell. That hell did come with upsides though. So first, the actual idea came about in October, and for various reasons, we didn't start working on it until January. The writing started on the 11th, and the last day of work in January was the 20th, where we didn't start work again until February 16th, where we picked up with recording. Took about 10 days to create with 4 script revisions. Actual time was about 20 hours, divided into writing, 8 hours, recording, 1 hour, and editing, which was both audio and video, about 10 hours. To those who gave us positive feedback, we greatly appreciate it. However, future me, we need to talk negatives. To anybody else who might be watching, your feedback did not fall on deaf ears. Instead, you gave us the good. But if we want to improve, we need to be ready to tear it apart. All of the editing was done at once. This left the beginning feeling strong and full of visual gags, while the ending was far more sparse because we didn't plan everything that far. Finding more assets became a pain, and assembling them in a stimulating way was getting difficult. In short, we got lazy. It's tempting to do it all at once and be done with it, but we didn't have a specific set of steps, which ended up bleeding into one another, and we took no breaks. We also recorded under a setup of blankets and pillows, which I do feel made the sound good. However, this also prevented us from re-recording any lines because inability to reproduce the same sound, so we just stuck with whatever we had. We spoke to a friend who is pursuing a career in voice work. She recommended us some cheap soundproofing and a mic stand, and also told us to use our closet, which are all things that crossed our mind, but we never did. However, soon after she left to do whatever she does, either some important business or sleeping in a giant pile of plush toys.
No, that's not a joke.
We immediately cleaned out the closet and ordered the pads and stand. Not sure what drove us to do it now as opposed to earlier, but thank you. Random side note, we edited about the majority of this to a remix of Kirby's Gourmet Race using XP sounds. I just like the fact that we had that running for about 6 hours. As for Twitch, we streamed about 62 hours and 50 minutes. March was a special month. The video this month was called iShika, something I found on Tumblr. It was a gag about the Sheikah slate from Breath of the Wild, and it being a phone, I just added a joke to it. This one was about half the length of the Season 7 video, and it did take about half the time to make. Approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes, where the writing was mostly done already because someone else set up the groundwork. So that was about an hour and 16 minutes. The recording took about 3 hours and 13 minutes, which I believe also included some asset creation, partially just gathering assets and editing others, but also writing the text. and the overall editing took about 5 hours and 16 minutes. Sadly, similar to the vlog, this video was also a replacement for another one which we pushed to April, which we also might push again because we're working on this one. Oops. That one I will not share since it's only in the writing state and nowhere near the first draft being completed yet. Good news, we did get our audio equipment and created the makeshift recording booth. I can't tell, but maybe we took a hit on the audio quality, but now we're having a much easier space to record in, and this means we'll be able to reproduce similar sounds, so re-recordings are possible. This video itself was special because it wasn't informative, it was a skit. This means we had to shift our focus from VO to more VA. Just a quick breakdown, VO stands for voiceover, which is pre-recorded narrative over a video without the speaker present. And VA is basically a subtype of VO, but with more emphasis on that acting part. More often character acting. Okay, addressing the cons, the waveforms for the audio were pretty low and we couldn't get them higher during the recording. I had to make all audio louder in post and had to keep rising them to avoid being overshadowed with any music. But also decrease the background music so our voice didn't get tuned out. This leads into the next problem, we didn't mix any of our audio at all. We did learn that Audacity has a compression filter which brings the highs lower and the lows higher to sound better. We learned this long after recordings were done, but good news, we're going to be using this for this video. And now the pros. We did a lot of tricks that I feel, while not expert, were good enough for what we were thinking. Little touches like how we took a short loop of the Sheikah slate flashing during the entire intro. We added a gag about internet browsers, but also spelt out Wikipedia in Hylian. We were also going to use capture images of the in-game display, but that looked terrible, so instead re-recorded those parts and replaced that with video. Also, the Doom footage was extremely easy to edit, literally just transform tool. This was fun to work on. I'm happy how it turned out because that cheesy 80s advert was the feel I was wanting, although I feel that my delivery could use more work. Overall though, I felt it was a little underwhelming. We didn't really get much in terms of feedback, but let's be honest, what else is there to say beyond it was funny or not funny? I can't think of much. Good news though, somehow this video got more views than the previous months. Take that as you will. Last thing here, our schedule got royally screwed up, mostly due to spring break. No class means lack of structure, which also means we just did whatever and lost all discipline. That and Breath of the Wild came out, and we played about 11 hours day one, which is really unusual for us. This shift ended up making the rest of the month a little more hell. Main reason why the other videos were halted because the writing process just became blocked. Finally, time for streaming overall was less, but not bad. 45 hours and 57 minutes. Aside from the hiccup in March, this quarter did pretty well. Still a lot of room for improvement overall, but hey, not a bad way to start the year. So let's briefly look at second quarter's potential goals. Still doing one video a month, that's not going anywhere. Trying for one task a day, faster completion, aiming for the third week of the month, and starting more diverse projects, maybe more programming or more structured VO content, or even VA. Game development would be nice, but I can't expect to finish this quarter. Also, future me. These are merely working points, nothing set in stone. We can flesh these out afterwards, so making no real promises on either end. Mainly, remember this, we do good work and we get things done.
Just remember, don't guilt yourself. That diminishes from what we're doing. Keep the course.